I'm sure you guys have heard of Mahmoud Khalil by now, but if you haven't heard about Mahmoud Khalil, he's a foreign student in the University of Columbia, New York City, that was detained. Well, let me not say detained, more like abducted by ICE the other day and possibly deported back to Algeria, where he's originally from. Well, we don't know what happened to the man. There's no real information, no update about what's going on, his condition. He's here legally, by the way. He had a green card. His wife is an American citizen who applied and filed for a green card for her husband, which is the right of every American citizen. So he's here legally. And they abducted him and possibly send him back to Algeria. And his crime is organizing protests against genocide. That's his crime. Of course, they're labeling it as Hamas supporters. So anybody's out there protesting against genocide, and anybody who speaks against the Israeli terrorist state, you're now automatically a Hamas supporter. Right? You can never criticize Israel, who attacked the United States in several occasions. USS Liberty, 9/11, they celebrated, and they were definitely a part of it. JFK, very possibly a part of that. Anyway, here's what I really want to bring up. Neo-Nazis out there freely protesting, because that's the right. This is America. Freedom of expression. No outrage by these Zionists. Right? No outrage. These very people who represent the movement that try to eradicate all Jewish people from Europe, right? That's what they represent. The eradication of all Jewish people from Europe, and now also all other ethnic race other than the Aryan superior race, the white race. Anyway, no outrage from these Zionists, because of course they were aligned with the Zionists, with the Nazi movement. They had an agreement. The Zionist movement, if you haven't heard, look up Havana Agreement. They had they had some type of, interest, a mutual interest with Hitler, and they made a deal with Hitler. Point being is, these very people who try to eradicate all Jews are out there protesting and freely marching with no type of outrage, basically almost no outrage. Of course there's some. But when people are protesting against genocide, all you hear is outrage from the senators, from the congressmen, trying to label these people who are literally worried about the extinction of the Palestinian people from their homeland that's currently being conducted by this terrorist state, Israel. They call them terrorists, right? Netanyahu, who has a warrant for his arrest for war crimes, was in the White House not long ago. Nothing is done. No outrage from the senators. President Trump literally pulled his sheriff like he was his servant boy. Possibly even ate his ass in the background off the cameras. God knows what happened. But that's the country we live in now. That's the world we live in. Right? These senators, these congressmen, all getting paid by AIPAC, a lobbyist, whatever you want to call them, for the Israeli terrorist state, paying them off. They all have dual citizenship with Israel. Their loyalty is clearly for Israel and not for the American citizens, nor for America itself.
אנחנו הולכים למסלול התנגשות עם הממשל האמריקאי. ארצות הברית זה לא מקשה אחת. יש את הסנאט, יש את הקונגרס, יש את הכוח היהודי שהוא עצום, יותר חזק משהיה אי פעם. יש דעת קהל, יש לנו כוחות כבירים בדעת הקהל שמתנגדים למדיניות הזאת, גדולי הפרשנים. אמריקה לא תכפה לנו דבר.
As they're bragging about all the victories they had in American elections, here's a list of all the very important positions of power that are non-elected, starting with Merrick Garland of the FBI, David Cohen, who runs the CIA, Avril Haines, who is the Director of National Intelligence. And that's the key positions of power in our intelligence spy network. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who actually has a dual citizenship with Israel. Janet Yellen, who is Secretary of Treasury and is in charge of our whole entire economy. She used to be in charge of the Federal Reserve, too. She used to be in charge of all our banks. Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. So ironically, they're in charge of our borders. White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klein. Not a single piece of paperwork hits the president's desk without that man being able to have access to it. So it's not that they just have victories in all of our elections. but they also hold the most key important positions of power in our entire government.
But because they're always coming out, oh, our greatest ally, but they did absolutely nothing for us. They attacked us and gave no excuse for it. We covered up for them. They did 9/11. Mossad members were literally on a rooftop of a parking lot during 9/11 taking footage and celebrating the attack. Netanyahu himself said that was the greatest thing to happen to Israel, for Israel, is 9/11. Facts, all public information. You can easily look it up yourself. Yeah, but people protesting against genocide, well, that's terrorism. That's insane. Lock them up. Deport them. Woo! That's crazy, bro. We're living in a twilight zone. That's what I got. We are living in a twilight zone. America that I love so much. A country that I thought stood against bullying, against crime, against criminals. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I was taught my entire life. That's what we stood for. It's for freedom. The right of people to exist and have their culture and freedoms. Oh man, the tide changed. Or maybe it was always like that. I mean, yeah, I think it was. I'm not that naive. Now I'm awake. I'm fully awake. It was always like, you could clearly see how black Americans are treated in this country. How minorities are treated. And they try to disguise it. Well, they have every right. No, the fuck they don't. Yeah, sure, you could disguise it as if they did. You have certain black Americans who manage to become successful, right? After being put in an environment that's systematically made for them to struggle as hard as most people in America, harder than anyone. And these guys, they, fortunate for them, they came out of the gutter and they're talking about, oh, well, look at me. I made it out. You can too. When there's a system, a cycle put in place, it's really unfortunate. This is the country we live in now. It's really sad. And all I'm probably gonna hear in this video is, oh, if you don't like it, go back to your country. Well, this is my country. You go back to Europe. Bring back the Native Americans. Bring back the African Americans who have been treated and taken by force from their homes. Let them run this country now. Let the natives, the indigenous people, Mexicans, run this country now. Let the people who have been forced and mistreated for centuries in this country, from the very existence of this country, from the very start, let them run this country now. And you, Europeans, go back to your country. You are the very people who have no outrage, no type of animosity towards neo-Nazis. Oh, that's their freedom. How about you take them and take yourself back to Europe? How about that? Sick, wallah.